morning, everyone, and welcome to this live. I thought I would start a couple minutes early in the chat just to go over. People are like, what are you talking about, squirrels? So we recently moved our warehouse, and 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, I think we're in week 3. And I came in this morning and was thoroughly freaked out because I heard noises and thought somebody was in the building. And instead I found 2 squirrels. I have no idea how they got in. They must have been hanging out for a while, maybe hidden when we had windows or doors open when we were here yesterday. But there are 2 squirrels shopping the warehouse floor, I think. So I left the side door open, hoping that after they shop for their beads and pick up lovelies for their wives or their husbands, that they leave the building. So I left a peanut butter pretzel trail going out the door. That just might encourage more in. So if I go down and there's like 30 squirrels in the building, I know what it is. Luckily I was able to like close off doors and I hid in my office for a little bit. So the squirrels are in the building, they're shopping, but I think they're fine. So we have tons and tons of squirrels around here. And actually a funny little story, as we moved the warehouse, the customer service office, the squirrels kind of come and look at us in the morning right at the window there. There's a little water catch there. They drink the water and I swear they stare at me and wonder, when are you going to put food out here for us? So I think the previous building owners or tenants used to go in and feed the squirrels. So they're really cute, but they are kind of just rats with long tails. So anyway, there are squirrels in the warehouse, and hopefully they just exit once they're done their shopping. So fun. Yeah, I do not. So far we've had in addition to the 2 squirrels that have joined us, I had another squirrel in the basement once, but we left the garage door open, so that made sense. He made his way out. I just left it open. And then we've had birds. So when we purchased the building, we realized that there was a big long net, like fishing net, in the basement. Now I know what the net was for. I was thinking bats in my head, but so far we've had birds and squirrels. So I'm hoping the squirrels are smart enough, because they are pretty smart. I'm hoping they're smart enough to leave the building and go outside once they realize there's no more food in the building. So fun. So anyway, yeah, welcome. We're going to talk about charms. I don't have any squirrel charms. I thought in my head, I was like, oh, do I have squirrel charms? That would make this great. But I do not have any squirrel charms, unfortunately. But I do actually here, I'll show, in case you're not a member of our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, I did post a picture of the squirrels in that group, but I'll show you a picture of the squirrels hanging out. So they are currently hanging out in the building. So I think they're shopping from afar. So let's see if I can get this here. So here's the squirrel right there. Here's a little closer up. There's one. I'm going to name him Buddy. And then Frank's on the water pipe there. So we got Frank and Buddy hanging out in the building. Hopefully they decide to exit soon. They're not quite the co-workers that I want. I think they were going to really have trouble carrying trays in order to fulfill all of our orders. So welcome everyone. I thought I would do a better beater on charms, because one of my first experiences, and for a lot of you, one of your first experiences may be charms. So you may have gotten a charm bracelet or had something little dangling when you were a kid. When we start wearing jewelry, usually it's something very, very simple as a charm on a necklace. So once you progress in the jewelry making world, where do you add charms? So that kind of led to this question, and I thought it was a great better beater episode. So for those of you, let's see, we'll do a little shout out here for people all over. Good morning to everyone, to Bonnie and Kim and Laura and Donna and Denise and Zita, and hello to Evelyn and Edwardine and Evelyn. Hello to the squirrels. Hello to Eva, as well as many of you joining in, to Beth and to Lori. Hello everyone joining in on this live. So today we're going to talk all about charms. Now you may notice before I go to a different view, I have charms on my earrings. Not 1 charm, but 2 charms. These were actually made by Jenny years and years ago with some Thai silver, and I liked them so much that I had taken them. I also have charms on my wrist. So I've got a little evil eye charm and a little rose here that's sitting backwards. I tend to wear very, very simple jewelry when I am just kind of picking something up really quickly. And one thing with charms that everybody doesn't think of is when you make a little eye pin or a little head pin and you hang beads down, you're basically making your own charm. We see lots of charms that are involved in basic stringing or stretchy string. I love to wear bracelets stacked up that have all different charms kind of hanging with them. I realize some of these beads are going to disappear because they're green. But I love to add charms, especially to stretchy bracelets. It's really, really natural for me. You can add a charm or two and just kind of have fun looking and adding charms. I'm going to go into my history a little bit of beading and jewelry making and show you guys one of the charms experiences that I started with. So just to show you a little bit closer view, I'll show you first the earrings that I'm wearing that desperately need to be cleaned, which I can do just with a little cleaning solution, or even if you rub your hands on a little bit of soap will kind of clean that up actually. So this is Thai silver. They're two charms. It's just a little leaf charm and a little rose charm that are hanging out on an ear wire. So simple. The other thing that I am wearing, as I drop my earring, and I wear these a ton. The other thing that I am wearing is my favorite necklace. So let's go back to the other view before I get into the charm. This is like my favorite necklace. It's based on it's the Gemtopia, or the multi-strand gem, which teaches you how to do some wire working. And this bracelet has multiple levels, you can see. I wear it down further. It hits right about 20 inches for the first one. You can't even see. Hits about 20 inches for the first one. Next one hits about 32 inches or 30 inches. Next one hits about 40. So it goes down pretty close. That it's almost to my belly button, the little one. But I love the way it looks, and I thought, why not add some charms? So I have that, and I'll show you how to add charms after the fact. So charms are one of those things that some people, again, don't realize that it is that they are charms. So a lot of things will hang down. Traditionally, you're going to think of charms as something like this charm bracelet. And yeah, my earrings are Thai silver, so they're an older set of earrings. We have some of the Thai silver still left on the website. Thai silver was really big like 10 years ago. Okay. The bummer with the Thai silver is that it's 99.9 silver, so it's softer, but it also tarnishes like crazy because of that. So this here is my charm bracelet. When I was a kid, I was fascinated with a charm bracelet that my mom had in her drawer, and it had all kinds of things on. And she graduated high school in, let's see if I get this right, 75, I think, 76, somewhere around there. Charm bracelets were really big, and she had a huge collection of charms on her charm bracelet. I mean, it's massive. It hangs down really, really low. Many of you watching may have charm bracelets and may not have taken them out for years and years and years. And I started a charm bracelet when I was in college. So it's some milestones of my life. I have the bracelet that I got or purchased, and then from there I started adding charms. So I ran competitively in college or secondary school. In university, I ran cross country and track. So I have here hanging out my little foot with wings, my little track wings. Then the next thing that happened is my mom was diagnosed with cancer, so I put one of the cancer ribbons there. And then I graduated college, and actually Nathan got me this charm, which is the seal of our college that we went to. So from there, and then little things started happening in my life, and it's great to look back at a charm bracelet and say, oh, you know, these are the moments in my life, and they really are. So I have, you know, I ran, went through a tough time with my mom, then we had college graduation, then I lived at the beach for an entire summer. I added some charms there. Nathan and I went on our honeymoon. It was the first time I was on a sailboat. After that, we got a dog. So like many people do, we didn't have kids right away. We got a dog. So there's Raider, my little dog. And then after that, we were pregnant with Annabella, our first. I put the baby feed on, and some of that, the faith, I think, accompanied with my mom's second bout of cancer that she went through, or going through. So all of these different charms really think about different moments in your life. And one thing that is kind of funny about the charm bracelet is I put it aside and I stopped adding to it. It is so easy to add to a charm bracelet. Don't know why. So I thought, let's do charms, get it back out, add some things that could be meaningful, or even a little color. In most of my designs, I use and wear pearls. So, I thought, let's take some check pearls here. Also, let's get some birthstones from my kits, since I haven't added to this in years. So, I have sitting here. One of the pearls, because one of my daughter, actually Annabella, is pearls. Here's a little silver color that I have. I had another one hanging out. Amethyst here. Get another little pearl. Get that out. So one thing to keep in mind with charms, you're going to think charm bracelet when you think charms. How much is applied? So somebody asked about a protective coating over the silver. I wouldn't honestly worry about it. You can have a protective coating, but just go in and clean it up. The silver tarnishes, it's a bummer, but it's actually really, really easy to go in and to clean up the silver. So you can go up, clean up the silver, even usually a polishing cloth. I can usually rub my fingers, especially over the Thai silver. The more silver that's in it, usually the quicker it's going to tarnish. I like the tarnish look for a lot of things, so don't want to mess with it. So one thing to keep in mind as you add is the difference between sterling and how Thai silver is different. So the Thai silver is, sterling silver is 99.5% silver, and then they add in, or sorry, 92.5% silver, and then there's other metals that are added in. Thai silver is 99.9% silver. It's going to make it a little bit softer because that extra percentage helps to really stiffen it up. So one thing that I wanted you to realize is that you can make your own charms, and I have a couple examples here of other pieces of jewelry to do so. So going in here, this is just a head pin, just like I would use to make an earring. I'm going to hold the pearl with my round nose pliers, leaving about 1/8 of an inch there. Turn the wire to the side, go over top of the pliers, switch from the top jaw to the bottom jaw, and go over the side there. Now that loop I made tiny, and then I looked at my charm bracelet, I'm like, oh, it's a double link one. I need to go in and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go in and adjust it. You can see I'm just kind of taking it through there. The best way to clean silver, there's silver polishing cloths. If your whole piece is silver, you can dip it in a silver cleaner. If you have silver along with enamel or along with a gemstone, then you definitely want to use a silver polishing cloth, because you don't know, particularly some stones, some softer stones might be affected by the cleaning solution that's on it. You don't want to dip it all in an anti-tarnish solution. So from here, I'm going to wrap and coil. And the nice thing with this is I'm not using a jump ring to attach. I'm using the eye pin to go right on. So there on my charm bracelet now, I've added a little charm. That is Annabella's birthstone. So that is my daughter's birthstone here that I added the charm to. And then I can add another one. So if I say, all right, Hudson, let's add you. My Hudson, I only got out one head pin. What was I thinking? Let's get out some more head pins. So here's another head pin. Answered your question perfectly. You are very welcome. Thanks. So here's another head pin. Again, getting in there. My next, I did it again. Made the eye pin too small. I'm going to bend it back out, make it bigger so that way it fits on. Going in here then, here's my next kid. My son's birthstone. I'll link that on. Link it onto chain, link it onto wire. And this is how you're going to do any sort of little wire working where you have the eye open. And you can see I have the eye there. I'm sliding it onto both pieces of my chain there. The loop goes onto the chain link. And then I'm going to take that wire and again twist it around the top of that bead, cut it off, and then you can use your needle nose pliers to pinch it down, making sure that it's not going to catch on any of your clothing. So now I have two kids' birthstones on my charm bracelet, which again, I like to have those kind of little moments in life that you realize, oh, these are the additions to the life that you have. Well, yeah, chalk in jewelry boxes helps as well. There's also anti-tarnish strips that you can add in to jewelry boxes that have that. So this is my charm bracelet. I can add, I wanted to show how to add that. Now also think in mind, like I had said, a charm is also going to be basically something that hangs down. There's not an official definition of a charm. So moving my charm bracelet here, I wanted to show some examples of necklaces that were based on those. So this one here, oh, I should have looked up the name, I forget. It was something sapphire. So it uses multicolored sapphire beads. And what this does uses that same exact technique, making your own little charms or dingle dangles to kind of hang down. And this is the exact same technique that I just did with those coiled eye pins. So if you go to coiled eye pins or do eye pins search on our YouTube site, tons and tons of examples how to do that. And really what it is you're just making your own charm. What happens if you finish a piece of jewelry and you say, oh, you know, it needs something else? One thing you want to invest in, and I'm going to do this to my necklace too, I'll show you, are some good jump rings. So jump rings are going to be rings that have an opening. Let me grab my pliers here. And I prefer 20 gauge or thicker when it comes to jump rings, especially if I'm going to attach to my charm bracelet. You need to kind of find the opening there. Usually you can take your fingernail and look for it. A good jump ring, it's going to be hard actually to see that example. And I also saw that Rita made a good recipe there to clean your sterling. So go ahead and check that out too. So thank you, Rita, for that little ad. So jump ring, you're going to want to open the jump ring, kind of pulling back to the side. And what that does is keeps that nice circular shape. If I pull it open like this, my circle becomes an oval and it's harder to get it back closed without it becoming kind of teardrop shape. So what you want to do is pull it to the side to open it up and then close it back up to keep your circle. So if I say, all right, this necklace is already completely completed, but I feel like he needs maybe a really big statement piece in the middle. Let's do a shark, a bonefish in the middle. Maybe not the best one. Let's see what else I've got. All right. Let's use this guy instead. Let's take my bonefish away. I'm going to use that charm to make a statement. And I'll just add a little starfish to the middle. You're going to grab your jump ring here. Go in and add your jump ring onto your piece. And then you're simply going to add the jump ring wherever you want to that it falls in the design. When you go back in now, the correct way is going to be to use 2 pliers to kind of close it up. But you're going to close up the design, making sure whenever you're using jump rings, go past where you think it closes and it'll kind of spring back to its original shape. So now if I want the necklace to be a little bit more of a statement and have a little bit more volume, it has that little starfish hanging down. And then maybe I'll go in and I'll add a little seahorse to one and my shell to another. So really change up the necklace design. Charms can make such a huge, huge difference. The bracelets that I have on, just to show you, we'll move that guy out of the way. The bracelets that I have on are old. They actually, oddly enough, have on some lapis beads, which are free right now with orders over $75. You get, I think we're doing diamonds and ovals. But here are 2 of my bracelets that I wear all the time. They're just really a complete huge mix of beads. This one I actually made in our Ocean City, New Jersey location, and then put that little evil eye guy on there. And you can see the jump rings there. Sometimes you'll have charms that already have the bails attached. So this one already has the bail attached to it. And this one is sterling silver, this one is pewter that you kind of group up in. I tend to wear them together, you can wear them apart, but it's nice for bracelets if you're going to do stretchy ones, just little charms to hang down. One thing you want to be aware of if you are using charms for bracelets is the length of the charm. So if I have these on, that's great. Say I think, oh, you know, I really want this fish on. Be aware, he's going to get a little annoying as you wear it. Not saying that you can't, but after the fact, again, I can go in with my jump ring here. And usually charms are going to have the charm setting because they're easier to produce, that you can see the hole when it's facing up. You're going to need to add a jump ring if you want it to hang correctly. So let me find my opening here of my jump ring. And these guys are pretty darn good. It's hard to find it. So you're going to open it up, attach your fish onto it, pick somewhere for my bracelet next to my Amazonite here, separate those beads, close, whoops. It's easier before you make it to do these ahead of time and then just string them on. Close that up, but you can always add after the fact. So the only thing now that I really need to be aware of is when I wear this bracelet and put this on, he's pretty big hanging down there. So he's going to hang down a fair amount off to the side there. And sometimes people are totally cool with that and it doesn't bother them. For me, it's going to be a little bit long, so think about that with the charms that you're adding to your bracelets. The other things you can do with charms is sometimes they'll call them links, Links really are charms with 2 links on either side. So you can go in and create like this druzy link here. Here I just used a Amazonite, go figure. This is a brown Amazonite piece here. Use the wire to make my own little head pin. And I wear this Y necklace a lot too. Here's another design idea for you. It's just the Y section here. I was actually starting out making a bracelet and then decided it would look really, really cool with some chain on the top. And I also wear this one a ton. And I've also let it right near the sink a ton, and it gets a little tarnished, and I'll have to clean that up. But that is definitely from water use that the brass is all tarnished. Again, I can clean the brass as well too. So Holly, happy summer as well. Greetings from sunny, hot Florida. Today we're supposed to be like 81 and cloudy here in Maryland, so I'm hoping to get on the water, the Potomac, with my kids, do a little kayaking, and we'll see. We'll see what they're into and what they want to do. So that's another way that you can use those charms or links. Many of you are bead weavers. So one of the other things that I thought I would show is how to add charms to your project. So I have the view going a little bit further back so you can see more of these items. And keep in mind again that sometimes charms also have additional holes to them. So you can take those additional holes and use them as links, not just as charms. You can also sew over them and put them down on a project. So this is just a little vine link, it's called. So if you're looking for charms and you're searching for charms, also search for links, because the links also usually just have a second loop. You can ignore that second loop and it will keep the same way. So you can cut it off too if you want. A lot of the smaller things, if you have a second loop, you can actually cut that loop off if you don't want it to have it. My other suggestion is if you want to use this one as a charm, say here's the stackable memory wire bracelet kit that we have, that little tree of life, and it comes with a little charm going along with it. You can add that onto it and then hang another little charm down from that piece, or use a link piece like this in a fun necklace like this, so you have that filigree piece connecting one to the other. You can also bead the filigree pieces as well. So what I wanted to show, this is the crystal lace bracelet, and I think Heather might have made this one. It's really, really wide. It was in with the examples. It's never been worn, I don't think, and I feel like it needs something else. So there's some pearls. I'm showing how she did it. It's actually kind of fun. And it is a big cuff. So it is, let me look at my ruler quick, how many inches wide it is. It is a little over 2 inches wide when you're looking at it. What if you want to add a charm to a bead weaving project? So this one is a lace style, but you can also use just a regular bracelet that you can have a charm that you attach to. So what I'm going to do, this bracelet is completely done. I'm going to show you, I have a size 10 beading needle here and some white wildfire beading thread. I'm going to pick a stop bead, and I also have some pink beads so that way I can disguise that loop a little bit. So there's some pink beads that I have out, and these are the dyed dark rose silver lined alabaster. Now again, this is a netting bracelet. It's a crystal lace is what we call it on the YouTube site. But you can do this with lots and lots of different styles of beading. So you can do it with peyote stitch, you can do it with herringbone stitch. I'm going in here and I'm going to sew back through that stop bead, which will eventually, I've got to move my pliers, come off the project. And I'm just going to pick somewhere to put this. So this little link charm here, it's a link, so it has 2 loops to it. If I was going to do a charm and say this only had 1 loop, that's fine, because I have the opportunity to take my thread and add a couple beads over the top to pin down the second side. So it doesn't matter whether or not you are going to go in and have a second loop or only have 1 loop. Like for instance, if I were to put the tree of life on this bracelet, I can go in and I can sew this one into place, and then I can put beads over the base of the tree trunk so that way it holds it in place as well. So this is basically my blank palette that I can go in and add to. And you can put a little bead on top to really make it a charm bracelet. In essence, that one might be a little bit big, but a little crystal on top to really push it in there. And actually, I'm going to do that. So let me grab, I think I have a couple little 2mm crystals or 3mm crystals hanging out here. So let's put some of these purple crystals with it as well. So going into the design here, I'm going into the back of the design, just picking somewhere random to sew into. These are 8/0 seed beads, so the nice thing is I can use a size 10 needle, and it's nice and big that it won't come out. And my needle can be big, and I'll fit through. So I'm going to sew through some of my netting there, bring my bead to the front, or my thread to the front, and then I'm going to pick my charm. So there's two ways to do this. You can sew through, add a couple beads, sew back down. What I'm going to do is sew through the loop of my charm. I've got too much jewelry sitting around here. I'm going to add my crystal on the top, or my seed bead, whatever you want to add. And then I'm going to sew back down through the charm. So what's going to happen is that link there, and then I'm going to sew over into the next area. Now I never want to have just one piece of thread coming up through this as I attach it. So I'll come back through and reinforce. What I'm going to do, and that crystal's a little bit big, maybe the 11/0 seed bead would have looked a little bit better, we can go over. And now what I'm going to do is follow the thread line right along the side here and figure out where I need to bring my needle and thread up to add the charm through the other loop. So it's looking like it'll sit nicely kind of right near that cream colored bead. So I'll take my whole needle through here, out through the cream color. Make sure not to get my thread all twisted in my charm. Again, lay your project down. That's the easiest to work with it. Swing your charm, do-si-do, round and round. Now if you want to, you can put a bead underneath as well, so it sits up a little bit. I'll put an 11/0 underneath. See whether the 11/0 fits or whether or not it goes through the hole. So it fits perfectly. So if I don't want to see a bead on top, I can just go right down, see a little bit of thread and take it through. I'm going to add one 11/0 to the top as well. And then go back down through. And the beads, I'm pretty sure, are raspberry lined AB and matte aqua, if you're wondering what they are. So when I came down here, I'm going to go back into the project. I didn't go through the 11/0. I'm going through the 11/0 below and then back down through that beige, that matte beige bead at the bottom. And there I have now that charm attached, or the link attached to the top of the design. Now normally I would go back through and come back down to the netting and reinforce, or pick my next spot where I want to say, all right, let's get another one of these on and maybe have them floating along the bracelet. But I thought since we talked about it, it would be really nice to show you how to add the charm and then bead over top of the roots. That way you can keep it on. The other thing that we just got are these really cool gears. And I've been meaning to play with the gears and I haven't had a chance yet. And we have all of these really cool kind of steampunk gears that we got in. And same deal. It doesn't have loops on it, but you can treat it the same way. You can sew it into the bracelet, into the design, and add it on top of the piece, sewing around, either adding beads or just thread to hold it in place. So that's the gears as well. Another great place for charms is bead embroidery. And also keep in mind, when you have a seed beaded project, so this is a little sneak peek at a video that I'm doing right now. When you have a seed beaded project, you can also add a charm onto the seed beaded project itself. I would recommend that you get to a place in the design where you can use a jump ring to attach it rather than stringing it right through the chain or right through the thread. The charm, if it gets yanked on and pulled on, so say I want to add my little lovebird here, you either want to make sure that you're going and attaching it to the end here where it has the wire guard, or if you are sewing through and adding it to the line there, either add a jump ring or sewing it through the line. Make sure you're doing it at least twice through the line, because if it does get snagged, you don't want your whole pendant to fall apart. So keep that in mind as well as you're adding charms. Charms look great on the ends even of bead weaving projects. So let's move this guy off to the side, and then I'll show you how to attach to the piece here. So if you have the piece here, say a netting, you're going to run through pick out a different spot to come out of the netting. And netting works really well for this. Peyote works as a really great base for this as well. This is a crystal lace design. So the crystal lace is the YouTube video name for this design. And now from here, I'm going to go in. I'm coming out of my cross bead as well too, the one that's shared, that matte opaque. And here as well, I'll add in 8/0 is going to be too small. Let's add another one of those crystals in, or 11/0. Let's see if I have an 8/0. Let me add a crystal in place here. Another one of those. So on to the design, back down through the charm, or you can go over the top and add to somewhere else, so keep that in mind. I'm going to sew back through the charm, not through the crystal, and then back through the same bead that my thread was coming out of. I'm sewing down the line a little bit. And remember, I added this thread completely after the piece was done. I think this piece has been sitting around for like 8 years. So going in here, I'm coming out right there along the top. And maybe I'll use some of those pink 11/0s around the tree base. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to take my thread and needle coming out right there over the tree base in order to hold the beads in there, or the charm in its position. So I'm going to find where I need to sew into, and just like sewing a charm on an already existing bead weaving project is just like sewing on a button. So when I go into here, again, I'll make sure that it's trapped over the trunk, and there you have it. So now that charm is attached to the bracelet. Let's turn it around so you can actually see it well. Now that charm is attached to the bracelet, and I have it, whether or not I'm doing peyote or herringbone stitch, I have it anchored down at the base, even though it is really, really simple how to anchor that. Now there are some charms that are going to be harder to anchor, and you have to realize, yeah, it might just float up and down, but many charms have little stations that are going to make it easier to link to. Going a little bit further in the design as well, let me come out here. I'm going to show you how I would recommend adding some of the gears as well. So if you have things that are filigree pieces that don't actually have links, I'll show you how to add those to your bead weaving. And I really do think charms add so much to the design of a piece and a project. I love using and working with them, even if it's bead weaving or even if it's wire working. I'll show how I'm going to add also charms to my necklace next. So here we have then a little one of those gears. Let me use the gold because it's a little bit easier to see. And if I want to add that gold gear there to the design, I'm just going to use my thread. So I'm going to go straight over, add the gear in, and up through the next bead. That thread is going to hold that gear in place. Where I come out, I'm going to turn the thread back over the gear one more time, and back through the bead my thread is coming out. Well, you can see now that it's starting to sit on top of the design and on top of the bead. I'd go down a little further and connect here to the bottom as well, or add some beads on top of it if you want to get that design. So there's a number of different ways you can add links or charms onto pre-existing things when you're adding them on. Scale always gets me when adding charms. I still don't have that down. So with the charms, I think that, okay, say I was going to add these gears to it. I would need to add enough that it makes it look very, very purposeful. If I only add 1 or 2, it's going to look a little awkward. But basically, you can do a charm beaded thing as well. The more you add, the more it actually kind of adds to the design and leads to a nice look in the design. So I'm going to kind of clear out those gears. The other thing that I thought would be really cool with the gears is making a charm bracelet with them, linking them together with jump rings, and creating that as the base for your actual charm bracelet. And then hanging your charms off the gears would be really, really fun. So the other thing I was going to show as we kind of get, I told my kids that about 40 minutes would be my time. So we're getting well here. So I figured, why not add some new charms to my necklace? So let me go in here. Take care, Eva. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining in as well. And hello to everyone that's joining in that I didn't get to say hi to. Hello, everyone. All right, so I showed my necklace earlier and how I used some little pendants or charms. These were actually listed as drops or as pendants on the site, and finding some beautiful random things. Every time I go to a different area, I actually go to bead stores. I'm an addict, and I know it. So I thought, let's add some charms to my necklace that I always wear, give it a little bit more weight, and have a little fun with it. So let's add one of my Tree of Life. And you can see I used all different colors in this necklace. So I have silver, I have gold, I have copper, I've got a brass color. I really just kind of let it all go. So scale-wise, again, somebody was talking about the scale of the project. When I'm looking here, I say, oh, I don't want the rose quartz to be overpowered. So what I'll do is I'll move the tree further down. That Twitter bird will look cute next to the rose. So let's put him there. I'm not crazy about that one near here, but that would look cool down here. So I'm going to open up my jump rings again, showing one more time how to open up those jump rings. And when I open up the jump rings here, I have to find their opening, slide it to the side in order to open it up, add my little bird charm, and add him wherever I'm going to onto the design. Then I close it up. Again, 2 pliers are really the way to go. And now I have my little bird on my design as well. Same thing here, let's put a little gear. Why not? A little gold gear hanging out near my labradorite. So I'll add a gold gear here. Hello to Willow from Canada as well. So, okay, Taylor said every town she looks at, she goes to a bead store. Ditto. I always go in, I look around, I ask them like what they think is super unique that they have, and I look for that. And usually if I am traveling, I bring stuff home too for my employees here, because a lot of them are bead addicts as well. So there I'm going to add my gear on. We'll have that sit a little bit higher up rather than down. Close it up. Again, 2 pliers are better than 1. I'm cheating. And then here at the bottom, we'll add one more link to it. When you mix metals like this and mix this to make the design kind of all different gemstones, I think you could add charms endlessly to it and it would still really add to the design. On goes a charm with a jump ring, and again, adding it to that tassel there at the bottom. Funny story about the tassel. This necklace was actually only 2 layers when I was working with it. So let me go back up here. And I had a meeting that I was going to. So originally this necklace, and I'll show the charms now added. So here's those added little charms to it. I know it's hard with the green screen. A lot of times everything kind of disappears. So I'm going to put it on. And if I put it on there, I look like a princess. All right. So I'm going to put it on, and then I'm going to pull this up so you can see it. So originally it was just 2 strands. Didn't have the chain at bottom, didn't have the tassel attached. I had a meeting to go to, and I spilled coffee on probably a shirt very similar to this, just a white shirt. So what I did was I figured out the length of where the stain was. I got the brown tassel that looked similar to the coffee color of the stain, and I did enough chain, just adding it onto the jump ring right here, to hang down over top of my coffee smear that I had. So the coffee then kind of disappeared. You couldn't see it further down here. I'll see if I can stand up, that way you can show the whole necklace. You're going to cut off my head, but at least you get a necklace shot here. So here's the way that the necklace hangs and the way that I wear it all the time. And the necklace hung just perfectly that it was able to hide my coffee stain when I was working on it. So that's the story behind that. A lot of us have jewelry stories behind each piece that we make, how we did it and how we added to it. But I've never added since then, so it was kind of fun to add a couple charms in there. So good morning, Suzanne from Myrtle Beach also. So hopefully this gave you we'll do a synopsis of what we spoke about during this kind of Better Beader Ask Allie Live, that I really just wanted to touch on charms, how important and memorable different pieces of jewelry can be, because you'll remember and say, oh yeah, my charm bracelet here, I added, the pearl when my daughter was born, or I made my own charm using a head pin to add the blue zircon for my son, and I have all of these different things that I've added. You can also add charms in multitudes to make cluster necklaces like this beautiful multi-stone sapphire one here that I'm not doing justice. Unless you wear it, this one doesn't do justice. It has those beautiful little clusters there. You can also do charms on simple jewelry. Just keep in mind, when you are doing charms on bracelets, a long charm may drive you crazy. So this one here is about 1.5 inches. It's going to drive me insane. These little charms here, these little pewter charms, they're where it's at. They don't make me crazy. The other thing, if you have a silver bead that you really like, I found this when I was digging this morning for a base to attach the charms to. This is a bracelet that I made, I think, in the very first bead store location. So this bracelet is about, what are we, 14 years in, I think. So this bracelet is about 14 years old. This is an advertisement too for 49 strand bead-along stringing wire because it's held up that long. And it's full of tons of sterling silver, randoms, one-offs. If we bagged it per 10, then we had one extra of the Bali style silver. I kept it for myself. Now, what you can do with this is actually make charms out of beads that you like too. So keep in mind, it doesn't just need to be pearls or crystals. If you have a metal bead that you really like, make a little charm out of it. You can have as well. And then also how to attach two bead embroidery pieces. So bead embroidery, you can attach the same exact way, coming up through the stiff stuff and attaching the beads if you're doing a link. If you have a charm, you can attach, this one is the crystal lace bracelet. You can attach and do a section over top of portion of the charm to hold it down in place. Or if you have a filigree piece like this gear, you can actually sew it down onto the project, just taking the thread from the inside to the out. You can always add charms after the fact to many, many projects, so you don't have to go in and look at a piece and say, oh, it's finished. Sometimes my pieces are never done, just like the one I worked on where I added the tassel to the bottom and that whole other layer because of a coffee stain on my shirt. I like to start my day with 1, 2, maybe 3 cups of coffee. And incidentally, I had coffee stains, so that's how that happened. Also keep in mind that tassels are charms and that you can use them as it. So you can go in and take all of those different little odds and ends and work with them too. Another thing I wanted to show, just as we're doing it, I almost put these earrings on too. So Evelyn, thanks. It's an older bracelet I just found. It's been missing forever. All right. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can make your own charms out of drops and jump rings and little components too as well, like these Zamek ones that we have in our line of grease kind of links there. And I wear those a lot as well. So you'll kind of learn to appreciate and add in charms. Many of us that do a lot of bead weaving, we forget charms exist. So you will do tons and tons of bead weaving projects, and then somebody was messaging earlier and said they just got out this charm, their charms, so it was easy to do. Do I have the Shellfish Charm in the shop? So this one here I do have in the store, and it is a pewter charm. It's, oh, I have starfish. If you look up charm or link, those are going to be your best bet to search through a bunch of the different charms and links that we do have at the store. We actually have tons online, so look through and have fun creating those. One of the other things, just one more time, again, make your own charms. So find those really special silver beads that you like, or Bali style beads, those one of a kind, all of those orphan beads. And that's kind of the idea of the cha-cha bracelet as well. I've noticed a couple of our beading and jewelry making members have posted some of their cha-cha bracelets, which are crazy collections of just awesome beads, so check that out as well. Charms, I think, can really make a piece memorable, make a piece last, and really make it fun and kind of step up a notch. So even with your bead weaving, try out adding charms. For those of you joining in, thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. It was fun doing another Better Beader live episode here on a Saturday morning. Those of you that missed it also, if you go back to the beginning, I showed my coworkers for the day that are 2 squirrels hanging out on the warehouse floor of our new warehouse building. So I have to go down. I'm crossing my fingers that they exited out the door while I was here recording and hanging out with you guys. So thank you so much for joining in. Have a wonderful day. Remember to look through and check out your charms or specialty beads. Make your own charms. Add them to the projects. Even at the end of your bead weaving projects, they add a little bit extra. Have an awesome and amazing day. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I will see you Tuesday live at 1 o'clock.